The feeling of warmth in the church is simply marvellous, and we are simply delighted with them. People come into the church and they literally go, wow, they look fantastic. We flick the switch and on come the heaters, and within half an hour, every part of the church is registering 17 or 18 degrees, which is excellent. My name is Andrew Bellamy. I'm the Churchwarden of St Michael's Church, Aynho, in Northamptonshire. We're the furthest parish away from our diocese, Peterborough. And we had begun looking in this church at the problem of our heating system about 3 years ago, when we realised that our boiler, which was more than 25 years old, was coming to the end of its life, and the pipes around the church leading to all the radiators were also nearly 100 years old and very vulnerable to some sort of catastrophic failure. We initially started to look at plans which would bring air source heat pumps into the church and provide a heating system through those. They became very expensive at the beginning of 2022, and we decided to look for alternatives. And just 14 months ago, we turned to Herschel and the Halo system that we have now installed. The diocese were very receptive to the idea, very non-invasive technology, replacing our lighting system, which was based on chandeliers anyway, and it would head towards the net zero target. So just 14 months ago, we approached the DAC, we put in for the various permissions. It was granted very quickly, and we started the detailed planning with Herschel in the middle of last year, and at the beginning of this year, we implemented the project. We have 6 of them in 3 pairs, and the church itself is probably ideally situated for this sort of system, so we could heat congregations at the front, at the centre, or at the back, depending on what activity is going on here. We are very pleased with the outturn. The feeling of warmth in the church is simply marvellous. The congregation, we have never had a single complaint in the 4 services that we've run since we went live, if you like, and we are simply delighted with them. If you look at the Halo heaters themselves, they seem to look as if they've been here forever. They are a much more fitting chandelier system than we had in here before, which we'd had for nearly 150 years. And people come into the church and they literally go, wow, they look fantastic. And after they've been here for a short time in the service, they love the actual warmth. The warmth which the Halo heaters give is better than we had thought. We knew that they would heat people in the congregation, give them a level of warmth which they probably never had in the church before. But we're pleasantly surprised that the side effects of heating the fabric of the church during the services and the other periods where we've had them on has been very, very good. So pew cushions, for example, which could go cold and slightly damp, feel warm to the touch, and therefore it's better for the fabric of those. The curtains on the sides of the church equally pick up some of the warmth, and generally the building feels better than it did before we put in the Halo system. The old system used to take us 4 or 5 days to heat the church to 16 or 17 degrees, which was the absolute maximum we could ever get to. And the boiler worked for 24 hours a day for those 4 or 5 days until we reached this temperature. It was a real trial for the churchwarden, for the vergers, coming in here to turn the heating on, to monitor it, to check that it was still working. And all those issues to do with managing the heating system have now gone. We literally walk into the church as we're setting it up for the congregation to arrive, and half an hour before, we flick the switch and on come the heaters, and within half an hour, every part of the church is registering 17 or 18 degrees of temperature, which is excellent. We have decided to turn it down a little bit because we don't want people taking off their coats coming into church, which they never have done in the past and they don't need to in the future. But the warmth is simply great. The actual heating control that we have is a set of 3 switches, which are the same size as a light switch that you have at home, but they're touch buttons which control each pair of heaters in turn. And at each button, there are 3 stages of heat, a lower level, a medium level, and a higher level. And you literally touch them to turn them on or off. Very responsive, very neat. And when we can, we'll link it to our broadband and one will be able to turn them on and off remotely should one ever need to. We decided in the church that we didn't want visitors to the church to come in and as they went to turn either the lights on or touch the heaters. So we asked Herschel to design a system where we could leave the switches where they were, but put a master switch a little bit out of the way, and we could turn that on or off ourselves, and therefore we wouldn't have the mistake of somebody using the heating and leaving it on by mistake. We know that in the longer term that there's no maintenance costs, there's no boilers to be serviced, there's no oil to be ordered, and all those sorts of things. One of the benefits for us also in the church is that we've been able to take out the pipes and the radiators which were around all the pew boxes, along all the walls, and it's given us extra space in the church and much better accessibility for our congregation. So all in all, it's been a huge success. Dealing with Herschel as a company was excellent. From the beginning, we got initial planning advice. We were taken to a trial church in Bristol, and we saw the installation there in January 2023. We were then followed up with a project team who came to the church and assessed the number of heaters and the size of the heaters that we would want. It was a very straightforward process. We looked at the footprint of the heaters, the height that they would need to hang from the ceiling, how the installation might look. And at that point, we also talked about the final look of the heaters themselves, and we went for a bespoke version of a motif that we had in the church based on the church baptismal font. And that motif was applied to the outside edges of the heaters, and we are very pleased with the outcome. The actual installation of the heaters was more of a challenge for our electricians about the church rather than it was to hang the heaters themselves. We had to put in phase 3 power into the church in order to have sufficient power to run them, and that was a challenge for us and our electricians. And we also had to work out how to hang them from the ceilings and how to access those ceilings to do it. But the actual process went ahead very smoothly. Once we'd done the planning with our advisors and our consultants, it went forward very well indeed, and we're very happy with the outcome.